Chris Ruddy from NewsMax. How are you, buddy?
I am great. How are you, my friend?
I'm okay. Sorry about we were supposed to call you, and the producer totally forgot. Anyway, number one, I got to tell you, I'm so impressed with NewsMax. You folks have grown exponentially over the past few years. Talk a little bit about the change. I think there's a number of things going on, but talk about what you've done to help NewsMax grow. There's obviously a change in culture these days.
Well, I like to have a new saying, a rising Trump lifts all boats.
Mm-hmm.
And look, Trump has been a bellwether for the nation. And look at what they threw against him. In the last election, Media Research Center found 90% of the press reports on Trump were negative. 80% on Harris were positive. He won by a big number. He won every swing state. He won the Electoral College by a landslide. So there's a real disconnect between the American people and the American media, the establishment media. And I think NewsMax, why people are tuning in, is they feel they're really getting the real story. And we've had an incredible increase in audience. In the first quarter of this year, our cable channel saw a 50% increase in viewership. 34 million people tuned in. That was up from 22 million last year. Amazing numbers. So that doesn't happen by nature. It's a movement. And I think that's NewsMax has been so successful.
You hit on something really interesting. And I was actually talking about this earlier in the program and it's all about, the deporting of this Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And the polling shows that even the majority of Democrats want to see illegal alien gang members who commit crimes deported. But if you watch CNN, if you watch MSNBC, and you listen to some of these numbskull Democrats, they are fighting for this guy tooth and nail. So I think you're absolutely right when you talk about a disconnect between the American people, even with the left-leaning media, with the American people and the mainstream media. But I think when it comes to the conservative media, I think that most Republicans and conservatives are in line with what they're hearing on NewsMax, with what they're hearing on, Fox News and talk radio as well. Would you agree that the disconnect is more on the left than the right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, the disconnect is from the liberal media that's completely elitist. And, let's say the left of center is less than half the country, but a big number. The center right is more than 50%. And we see it in the news numbers. NewsMax is huge. Fox is big. Shows like you do well. NPR, nobody listens to. That's why they get government funding. So there's a huge disconnect. And NewsMax just went public on the New York Stock Exchange. We went out and we're up. The stock market's down. We're up over 100%. NewsMax has gotten incredible interest across the country. We raised over $300 million just before we went public on the New York Stock Exchange. And I think it's a sign that people are voting not only with their investments now, but with their remote controls, with their downloads. Our NewsMax app, which is free. People are downloading that on their phones. They can watch us anywhere in the world for free. So it's an amazing, I think, phenomena where people are just bypassing the left-wing media, and they're really just coming to the sources that they trust. And we have data. I'm not just saying it.
Sure.
Reuters did a study last year, and they found that there are only 12 top U.S. news brands, and NewsMax was one of them. That was the Reuters study, not the NewsMax study. So it shows like we're relatively new, and people are going to our cable channels and finding us, and they're bypassing the media, and they like it, and they're staying.
One of the things, and I do find this a fascinating conversation, because the left will tell you, oh, this is just an echo chamber, right? The conservative echo chamber. People that watch NewsMax, or talk radio, it's all just an echo chamber. But it's really not. It's because, and we certainly found this out during the election of 2024, the presidential election of 2024, where they literally, and during the Biden administration, the media lied to us about Joe Biden's ability to serve. The media lied to us about how, Kamala Harris is a moderate. Bull crap. And so it's not an echo chamber. You just used that word, Chris, trust. It is about trust. NewsMax and in my opinion, talk radio, we have earned the trust of our viewers and our listeners because we've always been straight up and we don't lie to the people that we're asking for them to listen or to watch us. I think that's a big part of that discussion.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the echo chamber's on the left.
Oh,
not
yeah.
on the right. I mean, they own most of the media. I mean, Newsmax is an exception, talk radio, your station. I'm sure you go to your local newspaper there and you'll find they're all run by liberals, even though most of the people that read it vote Republican. As you see this phenomena. But who would you trust? I believe there are only two biological genders. I think I'm the only news network CEO that believes there's only two biological genders, male and female. You go into most networks, they won't give you an answer. They can't define what a woman is.
Yeah.
How would you trust these people? They're not even tethered to reality. They're making up their own reality as they're going on. And, from so many issues like climate change, we're fighting the weather. And that we're finding now in Doge that they were spending billions of dollars to political organizations. It was just a ripoff for left-wing groups to get money. And the public, you're paying for it. I'm paying for this. And so I wouldn't trust these guys at all. And that's why our trust levels have been going up with the public, not down.
Have you had a lot of problems? Chris Ruddy joins us from Newsmax. Have you had a lot of problems with cancel culture these days? Or do you think that at this point, conservatives, I don't know if we're uncancelable, but I mean, certainly the tide has turned.
Well, what I think President Trump has turned the tables on them. He's canceling them. He's canceling their contracts. He's canceling their jobs. He's canceling the handouts to these universities. He's canceling law firms that are pushing DEI. I mean, I think that he's ending all of this, and he's uncovering this gross abuse that took place. So the cancel culture is trying to cancel traditional America. They're trying our values at traditional Americans, and we have fought back rather. I think it was a key reason President Trump won.
I think you're right, and I think there is now between podcasting, talk radio, Newsmax, and other outlets. I think it's cool to be conservative again. I mean, I think that is a big part of what's going on. We're seeing younger and younger conservatives. We see more and more conservatives on college campuses. But the other thing that I really like about conservatism, and my audience has heard me say this 1,000 times, is that I love the aggressiveness of conservatism now. Used to be, Chris, and you know this better than I do, but it used to be, we would waffle and, oh, no, I'm not a racist. I'm not a racist. Now we look right back at the media and the Democrats and the progressives who call us racist. And we say, number one, we're not, obviously. But number two, you have way overused this term. And number three, I really like how not only are we pushing back and pushing back hard, but now, and you see this with Caroline Leavitt all the time, she is actually aggressive and really instigating against the media as being more proactive and on offense as opposed to always playing defense, which is what Republicans have done in years past.
Yeah, I mean, we tend to be, in the years past, we were very reactive to things. I think President Trump is showing that you can be very proactive. I think that's trickling down, and people are not taking it anymore. And, there's been a lot going on. The homeschool movement, for instance, is huge in America. Charter schools, people are taking back the education system. People are not standing up for a lot of the woke. They're opposing the DEI programs. And so I think it's a sign they're pushing back. And I think the rise of Newsmax, we started just 10 years ago, and we were now, the latest Nielsen number, we're number 5 for all cable, not just cable news. All cable news, hundreds of channels. Newsmax cable channel is now 5 in news, so 5 in all of cable, 4 in news. which is a pretty amazing feat when you think about it. And so, people are coming. President Trump says that it's his favorite cable channel. And Mike Huckabee says it's favorite cable channel. So we're getting a huge amount of interest, and I think it's a really great development.
Well, it is. And when you look at the conservative movement, we obviously have to have conservative voices nationally and locally as well. When you were starting NewsMax 10 years ago, I think you said, it must have been.
I actually started NewsMax in 1998 as NewsMax.com website, which is still around, still very popular. People go there for breaking news. We have a lot about the Pope, and we're covering the Vatican minute by minute, and President Trump and the Hegseth. But we launched the cable news channel 10 years ago.
Okay. And
that has boomed and is continuing. We now have a streaming channel. We're on every major cable system. We have a free app, NewsMaxPlus.com. You can use our Plus service.
Was it daunting when you started? Was it daunting? Fox News 10 years ago was still huge, even back then. Was it daunting, or did you see there's room for another conservative cable channel?
Well, I think the latter statement is true. There's definitely room, but it was daunting might be an understatement. We were told they're not going to add new cable channels. Don't even start it. Are you crazy? Within a few years, we were on every cable system. We get paid for a license fee by every cable system. We're now number 5 in all of cable. We had 34 million people tune in. And it's not Chris Ruddy, and it's not our talent. We have great people like Greta Van Susteren and Rob Schmidt and Greg Kelly. We have Carl Higby, great people. Mm-hmm. But I believe it's the viewers. The viewers want something. They're saying we want people that espouse our values. We don't want all this biased media with all the spin. And they've been coming in droves to watch us. For instance, this weekend we ran a docudrama. It was called Jesus of Nazareth. And it's the famous film by Franco Zeffirelli. It ran in the 1970s, probably the greatest film, some people believe, on the life of Christ. And, that was a historical docudrama, and we showed that on the weekend on Newsmax. Now, most networks they're not even showing that on other networks these days, because they don't like the values it represents. But, Newsmax embraces what made America great was our Judeo-Christian ethics. We believe that. So if you share those values, I think you'll like Newsmax. One
of the things I find interesting, I'm reading your history, right? So your father was a police officer in, I guess, not Nassau County. I guess that's Long Island. And
just outside New York City, yes.
Okay, very good. And, you earned a master's degree in public policy, London School of Economics, and, all of these other, but I don't see anywhere in here broadcasting or any kind of an interest early on anyway in what you now currently do. Talk in our remaining moments about your journey from being the son of a police officer to, leader of Newsmax.
Well, it's a long story. I don't think I can tell it in a few minutes, but I would say that, my parents were very dedicated to this country, dedicated to their family, and they believed in the values of this country. And I think I carry that legacy from them. And I went into media. I accidentally actually went into media and liked it and saw that it was important work. I became a journalist at the New York Post, which is owned by the Rupert Murdoch. He owns the Fox News channel. That was 30 plus years ago. And then I became well known covering the Clinton White House at the time. And I was on radio and television in the years since then, but I started Newsmax.com, became probably the leading conservative site, certainly was the first to identify and promote the idea of Donald Trump running for president back 15 or 20 years ago. I've known him for over 30 years. So it's been an amazing journey, and we are friends, even though I politically openly support him as a person and his, even though we don't agree on everything, I do support him, and I have supported him by contributing to him and by writing in support of him. But Newsmax has been an independent news service with a conservative perspective. We're very proud of that. And I think my father, Francis Ruddy, my mother, Marie Ruddy, are glad that we're doing this, and they see it as important, and God rest their souls.
Do you know what I love hearing here as we wrap up, Chris Ruddy, is that I believe that right now the conservative movement has got to extend beyond Donald Trump, and I know that you would agree. So when you look at the next presidential election, who are the names? And I've only got like 30 seconds, but do you see the conservative movement moving beyond Donald Trump? The left will tell you, oh, it's just a cult. I don't believe that it is, but who are some of the names that you're looking forward to seeing develop within the conservative movement moving forward beyond Trump?
Great question. I mean, it's a little early to tell. J.D. Vance, even Trump says it's a little early for him. Let's see how he does. I think so far it's pretty positive. Ted Cruz, I think, has been a fantastic stalwart conservative, the best in Congress that I've seen. And he, Ted could be, you know, the way the country with his Latin background, Texas is a base, a phenomenal background. I think he's really matured as a political candidate through the years. He was number 2 in 2016. People forget that. So I think he's sitting there, and I think there's a couple of others that I could see rising. You know, let's see what happens with the various things around the country. But I think there's a number of candidates that could arise. But they're my two favorites for the moment.
Chris Ruddy, it is an honor to speak to you. Congratulations on all of your incredible success. And I'm looking forward to seeing NewsMax rise even further.
Well, tell your audience to, I would mention to them to check out NewsMaxInvest.com. NewsMaxInvest.com. Find out how you can join our news revolution. We're now on the New York Stock Exchange, and we always want more Americans to be co-owners and join with us.
All right. And very much appreciated. Thank you for all the great work that you do for conservatives. It is 8:28, running late, way worth it, and appreciate that we were able to make that happen. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.